Hello, hello. We're back again. Hello. Hi. Now, this is the English version of our interview with May. Hi, May. Okay, May, invite yourself so we can. Hello, hello, hello. Hi, Ruby. Hi, everyone. Ahla wa sahla in Arabic for everyone who has joined. Okay, today, I love your name. Thank you. By the way, I just want to mention my name is taken from a poet by Samih Al Qasem and was for a song for Marcel Khalifa, and it means the summit. It's pure Palestinian song, by the way. So, today we're going live with, we're waiting for her to come live with us. Ta-da-da-da!
I'm back.
Well, I had just had to share the Arabic one and save it before it's totally gone.
Here we go.
Ah, you look much better now.
I do?
The
Oh, it must be the English
lighting,
live.
كله أحسن. إنجليزي
I'm
مغاوزة.
representing well.
أجنبية مغاوزة. Okay. Hello, everyone. Shall we wait for a bit more or shall we start? Hello, 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 hello. بدك تحكي hello special hello لأي حدا؟
عم بحكي شو ببعت oh I have to switch my brain now to the
Yeah. We need to switch to English now.
I'm just so grateful that we're doing this together, Hama. It's I forgot to say one thing before we did the first live. I'm really thankful to one thing that's amazing about this platform, not only the way to express yourself, but also it connected us to
Yeah.
amazing people like you, Hama, and many
Thank
others.
you.
To the friends that join here, to the friends that continue to support us and help us spread whatever message we have individually, collectively. And honestly, it's so hard for me to switch هلا من العربي.
It's okay, take your time. We just
Um,
switched from Arabic to
March is
English.
Women's
So,
Month. So this is really what I wanted to say
yes,
is March is Women's Month, and it's so
International
empowering.
Women's Day.
Exactly. And it's so empowering to know, Hama, the project that you work on, I Am Possible. I think it's fantastic, fascinating. It takes us from individually working to also collectively expressing
Yes.
our, yes.
So just let me just explain a little bit quickly
Yeah.
about the Impossible Woman in English. So the idea is I am creating a new collection called I Am Possible. Instead of saying women are impossible, uh, like impossible that we cannot do, we cannot achieve, we cannot be politicians, we cannot. Everyone tell us that we cannot. And this is not only for the Arabs, it's for everyone, apparently. And that's why I put I'm possible. I just put a slash or apostrophe between the I and the am, and we are possible. This month is the International Women's Month. It is International Women Day. Usually, to be honest, usually I'm a speaker at one of those foundations to share my story, to share my woman's
Amazing.
story. Today, I'm creating this collection not only to show that we are possible. Today we remind each other every day as women that we are possible, whether to tell our daughters or sisters or friends or mothers or a neighbor or someone in the street. I hope that we always keep inspiring each other.
Absolutely.
And the second thing that I usually deal with women from Gaza, and the thing is, when you do shipping with Gaza, it's considered by Israel as a war zone. So we cannot basically take the items from them unless if we pay a huge amount of money for shipping and customs. This is second, like one of like the latest abaya, the latest dress that we took from like it was one of their orders. It cost us 100 Jordanian dinars. It's above $140
to ship
US dollars just to
from
ship
Gaza.
one item from Gaza to United States. So, and plus that this item, because it's coming out from Gaza, it goes through a lot of customs. So it goes to Ramallah, to Israel, to Jordan, then to the States. So if you are ordering a white dress,
By the time
I
it gets
think
in the hand of the consumer, that white dress has turned into a gray dress. And
almost, or like they make sure to put a pen on it or a marker or so anyway, so I decided to, with COVID restrictions, it's just going crazier and crazier every day. They have um, no income, and women, by the way, are 50% of the population in Gaza Strip. They are under siege for a very long time. They're out of water. They have no bread, no flour. They have no electricity. And with COVID, it's just like getting worse and worse every day. So, in order to help them, because I'm responsible for those families, in order to help them, I created a collection called Impossible. It's on my website, hamafashion.com. And the whole profit is going to women in Gaza that I work with just to create an income for them, the whole profit. So it's made in USA, just to decrease the cost of operations, shipping, customs, all this craziness. And everything is sold, everything, wherever you are, the profit, the whole thing is going to those women. So the connection between
amazing.
the thing is between the Impossible Women, about the International Day, women from Gaza, what I do as a fashion designer, and like 20% of profits in general goes to women in need in Gaza Strip, in the Gaza camp, in Jordan, and actually camps in Jordan, not only one camp, and women in need as Palestinians and Syrians here in the States. So,
Amazing.
today we are meeting May, Almond and Fig, because she also makes sure that she keeps the tradition. She announced what is the tradition, the heritage, and she adds her own touch on it the way I do with my own thing. Um, we make sure, whether it's in design or embroidery or patterns or printed or handmade or food, that it's mentioned this is belong to what country, but this is our edition. So, May, أهلا وسهلا in Arabic,
Thank you.
and and we would love to hear more from you. Like I think, thank you so much, May. The microphone is all yours.
You know, you touch on great points. First, thank you for having me, Hama. Thank you for your incredible work with the Palestinian community, the refugee community overall, Syrians, Palestinians, whatever it is. And this initiative in particular to support the women in Gaza, that is beyond amazing. I think I've been to Gaza. I grew up in Palestine. So I was born and raised in Jerusalem. I grew up in Palestine, moved here to go to school, go to college, and I've been to Gaza once. And I've been to Gaza during the peak. I mean, it was a good times when I was in Gaza. That first
Uh-huh.
started probably when I was about 10 years old. So it
Mhm.
was probably prior to that that we've been to Gaza, but that was the only time I've been there. And you say something so important, that through the work and many other artists, whatever your platform is, whether it's food, whether it's actual art, whether it's tatriz and embroidery, or whatever the medium is, it's an outlet for creativity and it's an outlet of expression. And I think what's important behind all of the artistic work and these expressions, and especially like I mentioned, I don't know if it's in the first live or now, that you have a stamp on your either box or your dress. I have one of your dresses that says, "Tell the story you are wearing." And
Please
in my
share the
work,
story you're wearing.
I love that. And in my work, I want to tell people, share the story you're eating. Okay.
Yeah,
I think it's fascinating
you can take
that
it, please.
oh, got it. Noted. But it works the same. The concept is there, Hannah, and to
Yes.
share the story. Our struggle isn't about recipes. I think I'm a food writer. I work behind the blog Almond and Fig. I do all the dishes. Hi, May and Ham. Okay, by the way, this is my husband.
Hi! Because of you, I'm
Thank
eating
you.
mansaf.
Yes, he'll do the dishes.
You do the dishes. Happy
Thank
birthday, happy
you.
birthday.
Thank you for joining. So, what was I saying? Hey, I forgot what I was saying. So, our struggle, our thing isn't, and for me, I work behind food, right? I'm the dishwasher, the cook, the writer behind the blog Almond and Fig. I do all, my kids are my guinea pigs. I test all my recipes on them. But our thing isn't about recipes. There's plenty of recipes out there. It's the stories that inspire these dishes and are behind these dishes. It's to tell the story of the mothers and the grandmothers
Yeah.
that taught us how to be in that kitchen and to prepare these dishes. When are they prepared and why are they prepared, and how do we consume them? This is what's missing. Oh, hi Rosie, so good to see you here. It is it is great to have, if you, with Pinterest and the world of social media, you
Yes.
see plenty of recipes about various things, about hummus, baba ghanoush, home cooked meals and stuff like that. But not often you will hear the stories behind these dishes and how they are made. And I think from my work, I feel like I owe it to my grandmother, which is a grandmother of, like many other Palestinian grandmothers. I owe it to preserve that story, and that way of me preserving the recipe, the story itself. I'm preserving
Mm,
a little fraction of history too, that will,
yes.
in hopes that my kids and the future generation will carry through.
Hmm. That's amazing. And I just want to mention that
Hi,
May,
Rosie's mama.
hi Rosie's mama.
Rosie's amazing.
So May was born in Jerusalem
Yes.
and lived in Jerusalem, and her family has a big garden full of amazing stuff like lemon and almonds and fig and what else? Remind me. I forgot. I didn't write it down.
I forgot to mention the first life, also the seasonal things. Like my grandfather was in charge of the big garden, right? The big
Yeah,
trees, the grape vines, and the
yeah,
yasmin, the
yes,
flowers, and all that stuff. But my grandmother tended the house garden, which is the tomatoes, the betle, and she was
yeah,
huge on grains, and that's, I think, where I get my love for these vegetarian dishes, because she loved them so much. And
yes.
the betle, the sille, Swiss chard, and all these leafy greens, the herbs, the tomatoes, the peppers. That was my teta's part of the garden. She tended that and took care of it. And from that connection, growing up, we lived right below my grandparents, and I consider that a treasure.
Oh
Uh,
yeah,
Except, like I told you, on Fridays where they made us water the whole entire garden, it wasn't really necessarily a great fun job. But you know what? Now I get it. Now it built that connection between us and the land. بالعربي بنقول زرعوا فأكلنا نزرع فيأكلون. They planted, we harvest. We will
yes.
plant, so they will eat. And this is the circle. Um, the
That's
circle.
amazing. So May, whenever she used to come back from school, the family, the big family gathering on a table was on during their lunchtime, not their dinner time. It's just different between the cultures. So they had like so many people, the whole family, as I understood, not the whole family, like eh, on levels with your aunt, with your grandparents, and most of their food coming from their own family big garden. And here we're like, chatting, talking about their days, peeking, and whatever. And her mom and teta, it means the grandma.
Grammar.
Uh, so whenever they started the work at kitchen, they left it to her, to May and her sister to finish
Yes.
up. So this is part of her story, how she started the whole almond and fig thing. And I really want you to tell us more about why almond and fig quickly, and tell us about Fadwa, your mom. Like, what was her touch in your life of her being an activist? I don't know if an activist is the right word.
She's an
A
activist.
feminist, activist. Okay, if you may. We have 2 points. Why almond and fig? Like, why specifically almond and fig? And about your mom, please.
Sure. Well, almond and fig, you touched exactly on that. I grew up. My grandfather and grandmother are originally from Rafidia, Nablus, and they moved. Sidi moved to Jerusalem to pursue his education in agriculture. Later on, he moved to America, studied agriculture, went back to Palestine, bought this big piece of land because we lost our home in West Jerusalem, which is now West Jerusalem. We lost that home, so he bought a piece of land and filled it with trees, experiment, he did a lot of experimentation. I would see, I mean, to my head, it was like the trees looked duct taped all the time. He was, he always experimented and took care of things. And I
Okay.
found that was the inspiration of my grandfather constantly connecting with our land, with the dirt. In fact, there's a story that circled around later when I was almost an adult, that Sidi, when he was planting his garden, he lost his wedding ring, his wedding band.
Oh,
And it
oh,
wasn't until years later when my father was بيبحث بيبحث يعني he I don't know what that is. It's like he's flipping the dirt. Years later, I think it was after my grandfather had passed, that he found his wedding band. And it
okay.
tells you
Oh,
like so he left that land for my father to tend to my mother, to us. And it meant so much to us. Even when I left Palestine to come to Chicago to pursue my education, it's what's left. It's what connected me
in the memory.
to that land, the trees, the roots of those trees, and the dishes that came out of those trees. So the dishes that came out of that garden, right? That not only fed our bellies, but also fed our soul. And as I started writing when I was in college, I wanted to reminisce about the garden. I wanted to reminisce about the mluchiyah smells lingering with the garlic and the jalapenos and the chilies. I wanted to smell them. I wanted to taste them. Instagram and social media and all that wasn't really available. I said I'm not that old, but technology does advance pretty quickly.
No, it wasn't that much, and yeah.
No, so I longed for these things. I remember coming to the US as a student in Chicago, and my suitcase would smell like za'atar for weeks. And I actually loved that. I loved that smell that lingered from home in my suitcase. And
I want to ask if anyone
this is
here
the
does
za'atar.
not know what is
Yeah,
za'atar.
za'atar.
Does anyone does not know what is za'atar?
Well,
Because like here, like I'm married to an American, so his family does not know what is za'atar.
right. Well, za'atar
And
is
when they tried it, they didn't really like it. Like it's
pungent.
too much. It's too
It's
much for them.
pungent. It's
Yeah,
pungent. It's strong. It's
it's
delicious.
strong.
It's the taste
I
of
love it.
really. I mean, I don't know if you grew up in schools in the Middle East and specifically in Palestine, your asrune, your sandwich that you took to school was you would know what it is because the napkin was stained with olive oil and za'atar. I mean,
كلها زيت. It's all oil.
it was beautiful. It was, I mean,
Oh
now I
yeah,
reminisce.
absolutely.
So that's where it all came from. I started writing and reminiscing about this za'atar bag, about the smells. And almond and fig came from the land, came from what Sidi planted in that garden.
Yeah.
Almond trees were my favorite flowering trees in the spring. They have this beautiful pink hue. And it shows you the growth of that tree. It starts with a beautiful budding flower. It goes into a green, tender, sour, delicious almond. And then it goes to another stage of being the inside of the almond is still soft, but yet hardened. And then it goes to an actual almond that you see at the market now. So this whole life cycle just kind of, it made me love that tree so much. And the fig tree is a resilient tree, just like the olive tree. The fig tree,
Please, just tell us about the olive tree and Palestine and Palestinian resilience. Please. Like I love that you said it in Arabic.
the olive trees, the fig trees, they grow anywhere. If you are lucky enough, or if you grew up in Palestine and Palestine, or you go to Palestine, or you see Palestine, you will see that the hills of Palestine are laced with olive trees. They just grow.
Yeah.
They grow. They don't need escasruna. I love that.
Aska عصرونة.
Not many people know the word asruna, but it's something we use for school. So the olive trees are resilient, just like the
بعدين
Palestinian fields.
with tea and mint, with fresh mint من الأرض,
مظبوط.
from the land. Oof. هلا سارجع. I really want to have this now. Okay. It's my lunch.
I'll add it to my list, Hama, when you
No,
come
no, I
up.
have it. It's okay. I will leave the mansaf for you and the wali. The tough
No
stuff.
problem. It's my
Leave the
pleasure.
za'atar for me.
Oh, So anyway, these trees are resilient, just like the Palestinian people. Their roots really naturally grow anywhere. They don't need a lot of maintenance. They grow and they stay. They live for thousands of years, and they are resilient and they bear fruit. And
Okay, I just want to tell the beautiful people that watching us. Yesterday, May and I had a phone call just, to chat like the bullet points about this life. And we stayed for more than 2 hours on the phone. We were just chatting and discussing. So if you guys are done with us, just tell us, okay? As
just
long
cut it
as
off.
we're having followers here and
Cut.
watching us, we're gonna keep moving. So, May, if you can tell us a little bit about how did your mom, as woman empowerment woman and impossible woman, and how much did she affect? Arish is a very good friend of mine. She's
Uh,
amazing, and her
oh,
food
I
is
remember.
delicious, like delicious. بس
تطبخ
هذا اللي بقدر
بنفس.
احكي.
Arabic we say تطبخ بنفس, right?
تطبخ
This is the
بنفس.
term that's not an ingredient. It's just
آه.
either cook with
I,
nafas.
I miss أكلاتك أريج. I miss أكلاتك.
Adish Kuzini, I have to cook for her so much. You might want to help me.
Well, I don't see anyone. يعني anyway. So, if you may tell us about your mom, women empowerment and possible woman, the role model, how did she affect your, like, you mentioned with the food and the cooking and all this, but if you may tell us more about that part, if possible.
I grew up in a home where nothing was impossible. Okay, you could be whatever you wanted to be.
Amazing.
We all believe in Arab homes, right, or Palestinian
Yeah.
homes. I grew up in a home that my mom fought for our rights to be a woman. I grew up in a very ما لازم جد
تصفي النكهة بحسها. Okay, guys, can
Thank you so
we
much,
keep
Walid.
it in English so other people can understand us?
Thank you, Walid. Shukran, Walid.
Okay.
I lost my train of thought. What was I saying, Hama?
That you were raised in a house that there is nothing impossible, everything that you can do.
I grew up, I would say it was the best and the hardest thing way of upbringing. Meaning, I grew up as a minority because I was a woman. I was a Christian woman, okay? And wherever I went, whether it was in Palestine or when I came to Chicago, I had to talk about all that all the time. Why,
I
the
hear you.
part of who I am and the religious part of who I am and who I am as a Palestinian too, and as an Arab woman. So for me, it was a story that actually started with my mother. My mom got married so young, but contrary to most women who got married really young, she fought for herself. She went back to school. She finished her Beit Lahem University, 4 years of college, while she had 4 children, Hannah. We were the guinea pigs of her school university work. I remember working with her on her homework. Well, we were working on our homework, and that's when I was telling you. You talk about how we started the dishes, and my mom started the dishes at the crack of dawn, and my sister and I had to finish cooking those dishes. Absolutely, because it was a working home. We all had to be part
Hmm.
of that home. My father often hung the clothes outside. My mom traveled for work. She constantly worked with women empowerment groups, human rights, women rights, and children rights. Those were
And
the
she's one of the first entrepreneurs, as I understood.
entrepreneur. She was من لجان المرأة. I don't know how you would translate that to English, but she was one of the during the first
Women empowerment or women rights institutions, maybe?
women's right institution, حقوق المرأة, women's rights. My dad was fighting for workers' rights, who كان نقابات عمال, and my mother was for women and children's rights. So she fought for her own rights in the beginning. She تحدت زي ما بيقولوا, challenged society and the stereotypes, went back to school with 4 children, went from Aram, where we live, all the way to Beit Lahem University. My dad supported her in the whole process of doing that, going and getting her education. She started working in a hadana. She studied early education, and from there she started talking about women, and she started realizing قديش المرأة حقها مهدور. She's not paid like a man. So these issues became really
A sensitive topic.
Exactly, and she started fighting for those rights. So growing up, there was nothing that was impossible for us to do. We were there. We whatever. My brothers were a family of 5 kids, 3 sisters and 2 brothers. Whatever was okay for my brothers was okay for my for us as well.
But do you want to tell like people out of the possible thing, whether they're um, kids, women, men, who are today under a lot of pressure, stress, challenges during COVID. Um, do you want to tell us something as a woman, as Palestinian, as a Chicagoan, as a human being, as a, like an advice or maybe a story that you want to share with us and tell us how I'm possible you are?
You know what? Just I think it's important that there, there's a lot of fads. Okay, there's a lot of trends, and I think it's important that not to get carried away with fads and trends, and to keep focused on the work that you intend to do. For me, it's through my almond and fig. It's that voice that I want to talk about the za'atar, not in the sense of just manouche, but talk about the za'atar that I carried in my suitcase as a college student and filled my dorm floor with that
The
smell.
story.
Talk about that story. So be true to yourself, be genuine. There's a space for all of us, and I think collectively we're much stronger as women. Instead of, oh, yeah, I mean, the individual work is absolutely important, but I think the support, exactly what you're doing, Hama, by creating this platform, I Am Possible, by inviting all other women to be part of your platform, your work, I think this speaks volume of how we should be working collectively and together, because our voices will be that much more amplified.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I want to mention something that we both discussed yesterday and we both faced in the States. And I'm sure it's available everywhere, not only in the States, but since we live here and we faced it here, that with the social media, let's say, booming, and everyone is looking for being famous or money or quick followers or whatever it is, and how we were approached by different people just to, I don't want to say deny, but like to forget or try to skip the fact that what we do is for Palestine. Just mention it's Arabic or it's for Arabs. Just don't mention Palestine. And how did you, I don't want to, I know it's very critical to mention what we said yesterday, but how often we face this
Very often,
and
very
how
often.
important to be solid with this.
That's, I think, absolutely. It's so important to be solid, to stick to your story, because you know what? If we, like I said, our food isn't, for me, I'm going to speak from my area of expertise. I write about food. I talk about food. It's not the recipes that are the most, yes, recipes are important because it talks about ingredient. Like, for example, we see za'atar now. It's all over the market. You find it even at Trader Joe's, but the first ingredient is thyme. Thyme is not the same as za'atar. Za'atar is the actual herb itself and the mixture and the blend of sesame seeds, summa, and za'atar, which is the herb. So let's preserve, first of all, let's preserve the word za'atar, and it refers to both the blend and the herb itself. So talking about, so there, to say that the ingredients are also important in a recipe.
Yeah,
It's not to be overlooked. But what I'm saying is that our thing is to talk about those stories. They're important part of our identity. And it's important to stick around for the long run, to tell them our way through our own upbringing, through our own stories, our own narrative. Because people are talking about food. They're talking about tatris. They're talking about our stories, right? They're talking about
yes,
food. I'm sorry, they're talking about food without giving us the backstory. But when they don't do the backstory on our food, guess what? They are part of oppressing our story, Hannah.
absolutely.
So in order, it's great that knafe is becoming so widely available, right? It's so great. Hi, Yasmin. It's so great that za'atar is becoming widely available. That kibbeh is found at Trader Joe's. Wonderful. But you know what? A story to go along at the backstory of that food and how important it is to that culture is part of then they're not participating in the oppression of our story, and therefore
Absolutely.
oppressing our own identities.
Speaking of stories, if you may share your story with your dad who had COVID and the circumstances that your family is still facing now, since it started and what's going on till today.
Um, it's the story of COVID is hard all over the world, and it's
Absolutely.
specifically hard under occupation in Palestine. My parents still live in Palestine. They live in Palestine. They live on the outskirts of Jerusalem in an area considered Aram, right by Israel's massive checkpoint, which is Qalandia. My father got COVID when he was working, and quickly got really sick. He quickly had to be transported on Christmas Day to a hospital that's nearby. The ambulance from East Jerusalem isn't able to come pick my father up from our house. So my father was transported to a hospital in Ramallah. The situation, the medical world, the medical situation in Palestine prior to COVID was already at the verge of collapsing because of the occupation, because of the closures, because of the lack of materials and medical supplies, and the lack of personnel. So imagine with COVID, everything got even 100 times worse. So my dad was transferred to this hospital in Ramallah to be cared for. Quickly, his lungs started collapsing, and quickly his kidneys started collapsing. My dad stayed in the hospital for about 2 months, and most of that time was in the intensive care. The first few weeks of his hospitalization were the most critical. The hospital lacked medical supplies. The hospital lacked basic needs as if my mother, to the point that my mother had to bring gloves, masks, sanitizing soap, sanitizing sprays to the hospital that in return they diluted with water because it wasn't enough to supply the whole floor. That whole situation that got even further complicated because of not only COVID and the pandemic, but also because of the pre-existing conditions on the medical and the transportation of equipment and medical personnel prior to COVID because of the occupation. And then we get to the story. My father, for everyone that asked and asking, my father is now home. He's still trying to regain his strength. He's still unable to walk. And part of his weakness too is the lack of medication in the beginning of his treatment through COVID because of the lack of equipment. And we couldn't transfer my father. Many had asked me and reached out to see if we can transfer my father to East Jerusalem at least. We couldn't transfer my father to East Jerusalem because there is a checkpoint. The distance between Palestine, the distance between Ramallah and Jerusalem is really short. You could be there
Yes.
minutes. But because of the wall and the roadblocks, this could take up to 3 hours, or you never know. If they decide to close the
Days.
checkpoints, then my father's life is at tremendous risk. And the ambulances only have oxygen for 15 minutes. So we couldn't risk my father's lives. And the way I was telling my mother, I said, this is not tabadul asra. This is not an exchange of prisoners. He is a patient. He's a COVID patient that's unable to breathe on his own, unable to walk on his own. He's suffering tremendously. So we couldn't transfer him to a better hospital. And we had to stick around to the hospital he is at. Now, after all this vaccination, the Palestinians are lacking vaccination. There is no access to vaccination simply because anything that, like you said about your tatriz, that you can't get it. Allah Ysalmik Arish, thank you. You couldn't get your tatriz out of Gaza. There's so many restrictions. Imagine that on medication. Imagine that on the vaccination. Nothing comes into Palestine without the approval of Israel, without the approval and the permits of Israel. Therefore, the Palestinian Authority cannot facilitate the distribution of vaccine due to all the roadblocks as well, and all the closures and the wall and the checkpoints. So there's so much at stake here.
I'm
Sorry.
really sorry.
This
I'm
is
really
really,
sorry. Like, when we discuss this, I know this is very, 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 very emotional topic to talk about, but I think this is really important to share. Like, we're sharing only one story out of 10 million. 10 million living under occupation.
there's
And
5 million Palestinians living alone in the West Bank and Gaza.
so what they're going through is really tough. And that's why each one of us has a mission. And that's why we're doing what we're doing. And I hope this is gonna last, not only in March for the International Women's Day or the Impossible collection. We all together, our voices are heard much better
Thank,
and louder. Um, Again, I would love to have any impossible woman, inspiring woman,
thank you.
to share her stories with us and to be one unity, whether we're in the States or in Jordan or in Europe, wherever we are. With social media, we can reach and deliver our voices wherever we are with
Yeah,
the social media and through this platform or another platform. May, you know that you inspire me so much and I love you so much.
I love you too.
And
And thank you.
I'm really sorry that I had to bring up the your father's thing, but we both agreed that it was important to mention it today. I hope he will feel better and things will be better. Inshallah, next time Fadwa, your mom, is gonna be with us to
Inshallah.
inspire all of us.
Inshallah.
Do you want to tell us anything, share anything? I know that you have to go and pick up your
It's
kids,
okay.
so
And it's, whatever it is that you're doing as a woman, women, especially now with COVID, I see many friends here, many moms, many entrepreneurs, women who are leading companies and nonprofit organizations. They're leading their homes, they're taking care of their children, they're facilitating a job on the side, facilitating a job and taking care of the kids. Stay, tell your story. Hats off to you. I think, I said something in the first video that our grandmothers and our mothers weren't confined, especially the Palestinian grandmothers and the Palestinian mother. They were due to to 48, the occupation, 67. We were forced to live in so many different geographies across the world. We were forced from to the women who lived our grandmothers that lived by the sea, now they live in a refugee camp. The women that lived in the on the mountains, that they live outside of Palestine. It's important that we, whatever work you're doing, whether it's in food, whether it's in art, tatriz, calligraphy, singing, music, acting, whatever it is, it's important to stick and talk about your story, make it yours, because we are in charge of our own, make us in charge of our own narrative and tell it the way we grew up seeing it. This is how we preserve a slice of history for our kids, for the generation to come.
amazing. Goosebumps. يعني you summarized it in a very, very awesome way.
Thank you, Hama. Thank
May
you for
said,
doing amazing work.
sharing food with your family and loved one is an expression of love. This is how we're gonna end this. Share your love with everyone that you love. And I know it's really hard with COVID, but for the ones who they say we're stuck somewhere with our families, enjoy this time. Change your words, change your vocabulary, be gracious. This is all out of gratitude to put us all together. Inshallah, you'll be able to go and visit your dad.
Hello.
And I know, like with travel ban, it's really hard and tough. Hopefully, things are gonna be easier soon with the vaccines here, at least.
Hello.
Um,
Thank
let's hope and pray. Thank you, everyone who joined us today, whether in Arabic or English. We didn't have a chance to thank them in Arabic first. شكرا كتير. بنحبكم in Arabic.
you. Thank you. Amjad.
And I just want to mention that on Friday, I'll be with another impossible woman. May, you're gonna love her work, I
Can't
promise
wait.
you. She's amazing and she does amazing jewelry made out of embroidery, something that I've never seen in my entire life. She's new. She's struggling with COVID, with her company existence. She cannot really, um, keep it going, if we may say. It's a tough time for all of us. So I hope you will be there to
I,
meet her, to see what she does.
inshallah.
Hopefully we meet in Palestine. يا رب أشعر بدني goosebumps. يا رب
Ready.
سعاد. Like, listen, I've been in Jordan my entire life. I've been only once allowed to visit Palestine, and this visit who made the turning point in my life, from a medical business consultant to a fashion
Oh,
designer. So see how visiting your homeland, it just can change your entire life. I
yes.
love you. Stay in peace. Stay safe.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Share your love on your tables. And with
Can't
your
wait to have
clothes.
you. I have a whole list per her request. There's a big list to feed Hama, so I can't wait.
That tummy is hungry.
Habibti. Thank you, Hama. Thank you for all
I
your
love
work,
you all.
hard
Thank
work.
you
Thank
so much.
you so much, Hama.
وكلكم شكرا. بوسات. Thank you. Bye.